Perhaps the funniest outcome of this entire thing is Donald Trump turning around and talking about how Bill Clinton is the best because his dementia-riddled brain can only remember memories from that period of time when he was Jeffrey Epstein's butt buddy. You will pet me whether you like it or not. Oh, I was going to talk about this. Robert Kraft, notorious sex criminal who was not prosecuted for his illicit activities. Owner of the New England Patriots. Go Seahawks, by the way. That Robert Kraft. Robert Rub and Tug Kraft is coming out with a whopper of an ad to combat anti-Semitism. Let's take a look.
Dude, did you see that? Should we tell him? So bad.
Bro, look at him.
Oh my God. It's not funny. Stop.
Do not listen to that.
Why did he put a blue Post-it on it instead of just ripping the Post-it off? Hey, yo, do not listen to them. Just take the Post-it off. This is, oh my God.
Do not listen to that.
Thank you, man.
I know how it feels.
No, this is so much worse than timeout. No, I know how it feels. Okay, White Hands made this ad. I'm sorry. Black Hands did not touch this ad on Black History Month. On Black History Month? Of all months, you made this on Black History Month? You got an ad comparing systemic racism that black people experience in the United States of America after 400 years of chattel slavery, rape, torture, ethnic cleansing, okay? And its contemporary wounds that have yet to heal. You are comparing it to like individual acts that are anti-Semitic, but like individual acts of bullying and harassment. You want to know why I know White Hands made this? Because only white people think like, oh, saying the N-word is just like hurting a black person's feelings, okay? Like anti-black racism is infinitely more complex and infinitely more damaging because it happens at the systemic level. It's not just about racism hurting a black person's feelings because like they were discriminated against as an individual in that very moment. It's not bullying. Bullying can happen, okay? Bullying can happen as a part of the racism that black people experience, but it's very much lower on the totem pole of systemic harm that black people experience in general. That is crazy. Yeah, before he opens the locker, it looks like the kid's being bullied for being white. Yeah. Like there is no world where your Jewish name causes you to be overlooked for job opportunities in contemporary American history. Now, did it happen in the past? Certainly. Could it happen in the future? Maybe. Is it happening now? No. There is no world where your Jewish existence implies that you are more likely to go to prison, implies that you are more likely to be disproportionately targeted by the police, that you are more likely to get harsher sentences for the same crimes that non-Jews commit. You are out of your mind if you have the audacity to compare anti-Semitic attacks to the systemic racism that black people experience on top of the anti-black harassment that they receive. What the a more equivalent example of systemic harm experienced by Jewish people would be not being able to get Passover and other religious holidays off on the explicit basis of it being a Jewish holiday, but that's too nuanced for some. I like how they're acknowledging America's racist past in this one circumstance only. No, I don't even think this is an acknowledgement of America's racist past. I think this is a refusal to acknowledge America's current racist today, its current racist presence. So it's worse than that. Guys, while Jews have been historically marginalized, undermined, and have been the recipient of unlimited amounts of pain, death, and destruction all the way up until the Holocaust, okay, Jews as an ethnic group or an ethno-religious group in this country have, through incredible amounts of hard work, overcome that oppression, and on top of that, are by and large doing fairly well. This doesn't mean that like all Jews are doing all right. This doesn't mean that all Jews are rich or whatever, but like, the systemic racism that Jews experience is literally not comparable to black and brown people, to Muslims, okay, in this country. You are out of your mind. This is something that is very important to identify, okay? Like, that's crazy. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. This is an embarrassment. I'm sorry. You are crying like a baby. What the dude? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Anti-Semitism is still the only institutionally stigmatized form of bigotry in this country that remains, okay? I'm not going to say that's a bad thing necessarily, because all bigotry is bad and wrong, but to say that, like, come on, dude. Even the Jewish Daily Forward thinks this ad sucks. Robert Kraft's new Super Bowl ad about anti-Semitism already feels dated. If it was meant for the kids, they will laugh at how alien and out of touch it seems, writes PJ Grizzar. Okay, give me the actual article. Even the Tablet Magazine's editor at large hated this ad, but it's because he's even more unhinged. This is nutty, man.
Nah, they're not worth it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Name's Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Allow.
Did he say Bilal? Ain't no way these also made him a black Muslim too on top of it. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Brother, come on, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't know. Oh my Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. I cannot believe it. Did he say Bilal? They just hit the double Monty. I didn't even know that they could do that. I didn't know that they could do that. Flag on the play. I thought they were just being disrespectful to black people. Turns out they were doing a double play here. God.
Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Allow.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Also, as Jonathan Greenblatt has famously pointed to, when you say Jew hate, or when you say stand up to Jewish hate, people in the United States of America think you're talking about standing up to Jews who are being hateful, okay? Which makes this even funnier. That's right. They polled this. They polled the term stand up to Jewish hate. And many Americans, when they hear that, think, oh yeah, you're right. We should stand up to Jews being hateful. That's what they think. Now, obviously, the large majority of Jewish Americans are normal ass people. They're very kind people. They're normal people just like everybody else, just like the non-Jews are. Okay. But one must ask the question, why the average American automatically assumes when someone says stand up to Jew hatred or stand up to Jewish hate, why do they think it's the Jewish people that are being hateful? I know why. It's because of Israel. I'm standing up to Jew hatred. Not the average American. Stop. No. The reason why they think that is because, let's be real, okay? And I think all of the Jewish Hasanabi heads will say this in the chat as well. They'll probably agree with me on this. Jews in America right now have a very bad rap. And it is like almost entirely around Israel. So much so that the automatic assumption is that if you're Jewish, everyone thinks that you're pro-Israel. If you're Jewish, everyone thinks you're Michael Rappaport. They don't even think you're like, oh yeah, I mean, my family lives there. I think they're up. They think you're Michael Rappaport. They think you're Amy Schumer. Okay? They literally go, oh, Star of David, Amy Schumer. That's it. That's it. It's very hard to come back from that marketing. And I'm going to tell you right now, this kind of is not the way to come back from that marketing. The best way to come back from that marketing is to, hype up groups like Jewish Voice for Peace, which Robert Kraft is never going to do because Robert Kraft hates those Jews. Like all of the super, super ultra Zionist, like super pro-Israel Jewish people despise anti-Zionist Jews almost as much as they despise anti-Zionist non-Jews. Maybe sometimes even more than they despise anti-Zionist non-Jews, because it's like it's almost seen as like a race traitor. You know what I mean? That's it. This kind of ad campaign, I'm saying this as somewhat of a warning, I guess, as someone from a Muslim background living in the United States of America, okay? Heed my warning. This kind of ad campaign makes you look like you are whining, okay? The average person does not think about the anti-Semitism numbers increasing and exploding exponentially. The average American thinks about Jews in positions of power, okay? And for the longest time, a lot of the Americans that thought about Jews in powerful places did not consider that to be like a negative thing. Sure, it was strange for them, I guess, but for the most part, they were like, oh, Hollywood's run by Jews. It's awesome. They make great TV shows, right? Like that was the attitude. Okay? The dramatic attitude shift around Israel has caused a lot of people to second guess the notion of Jews in powerful places. Okay? This is why I always said for the longest time there was like this nascent, somewhat anti-Semitic notion, even though it's not an anti-Semitic notion if you have no problem with it, at the end of the day, that Jews are overrepresented in Hollywood and all these other places, right? Yes, I said second guess. Shut the fuck up. Suck my The thing is, when you pair this up with Israel, when you pair this up with like all of the pro-Israel sentiment, okay, the endless amounts of most U.S. Jews do not identify as Zionists even when they support Israel, JFNA finds. The survey also found that 7% of American Jews identify as anti-Zionists, rising to 14% among young adults. Only 1/3 of American Jews say they identify as Zionists, even as nearly 9 in 10 say they support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state. According to a new survey, 9 out of 10. Ay, ay, ay. Devastating. I always say, if the ADL is worried about Israel's reputation, don't censor the Palestinian movement, censor Israelis. Would do wonders for Israel's reputation. Oh, yeah, 100%. I think the Jewish Voice for Peace folks are more well-known than Michael Rappaport or even Jonathan Greenblatt. No, of course. When I say Michael Rappaport, I'm using Michael Rappaport as a catch-all, chatter. I don't mean like people are directly tapped into Michael Rappaport's mania. I mean that there is a Michael Rappaport type figure that they have encountered at some point in the media. That's what I mean. I don't mean literally Michael Rappaport. How do you not understand that? Nobody knows who the Michael Rappaport is. We know because he's a fascinating little creature. Okay? I'm talking about a Michael Rappaport style unwell individual that has gotten in their faces and is like, that's why I also said Amy Schumer, right? You can tell this was financed by boomer billionaires because this is not what school-age anti-Semitism looks like in 2026. Oh, yeah, there's also that aspect, too. Like, the whole Dirty Jew posted is so funny because, like, I think anti-Semitism has evolved dramatically since, like, someone writing Dirty Jew on a post-it and then slapping on the back of his backpack. You know what I mean? That is not a thing, Hasan. It is mostly online. What do you mean? That's literally exactly how I was bullied in school. What the do you mean? You're in a bubble, my guy. Most Americans do not think it's Jews being hateful. They just don't really care for Jews enough to take a stand up to Jewish hate seriously anyway. But yeah, they don't like Israel. My whole childhood, I was told people run Hollywood in the world, mostly by dumbass kids I went to school with. People thought of Jewish oligarchs and media giants as a bad thing. No, I'm saying that there are people like that. But by and large, most Americans weren't like you're talking about the anti-Semitic conspiracies that you encountered, okay? I'm saying the average person for like the last decade or so thought, oh yeah, there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood. Oh yeah, there's a lot of Jews in finance. But like it wasn't a major consequence. Nowadays, because of the attitude shift on Israel and because of the tying, the false conflation between Israel and Judaism, now they think it is a bad thing. You know what I mean? Now they think, oh, I'm being censored on TikTok or TikTok's being sold because Jews. That's the way they operate. That's the way that they think. Does that make sense? That's why I always said there is like this nascent anti-Semitism that has always existed. Always existed. And the thing that I was talking about, the stand up to Jewish hate thing, is not something that I made up. It's what the ADL studied. They literally ran the numbers on Jew hatred and its efficacy as a way to combat anti-Semitism. And not only did they find that this wasn't a good way to talk about like anti-Semitism, okay, that it was actually unhelpful because the poll results found out that the average person, when they think about standing up to Jewish hate, they don't think about like fighting against anti-Semitism. They think the reference is actually Jewish people being hateful. Jonathan Greenblatt talked about it. They ran the study. Yeah, it makes sense, but I experience anti-Semitism all the time. And I'd say most Jews do too. It's a super subtle thing, but I'm definitely anti-Israel. The only Jew I know that is. What is this?
Well, at least from my own experience, that there is very rampant anti-Semitism in the United States, at least.
That's your experience?
That has been my experience.
Are you Jewish?
I'm half Jewish, but it's not necessarily that it's directed at me, but people growing up, slurs against other races aren't totolated, but slurs against Jews I would hear pretty regularly, lots of Jew jokes.
Let me tell you something, okay? Norm's about to be like, I say slurs all the time towards all the races. You are wrong. I don't know if I agree with this guy being like slurs against other races are not tolerated as opposed to slurs against Jews.
Folks where you wouldn't be able to make black jokes.
I don't agree with that at all. First of all, there was an era in which one calculated anti-Semitism not by a person's thoughts, because you can't control a person's thoughts. And even you can't control your thoughts. And even you probably can't figure out what's your quote-unquote real motive for whatever you do. Are you interviewing me now because of a sincere inquiry into the life of the mind? Or does it have an egotistical component? Or does it go back to something your mother said when you were 5 years old? You know, the human psyche is very complicated, and it's not susceptible to easy analysis or control. So there was an era where nobody ever thought about those things. When you talked about anti-Semitism, it meant, does it affect your job opportunities?
Yeah.
Does it affect your access to higher?
And there was definitely an era for Jews in the West where this was an impact. This played a role. Like this played a role in Jews getting jobs. Like there was material harm at the systemic level. When you erode the systemic aspect of discrimination, and this comes along with like Jews being perceived as white, okay? Because that's what it is at the end of the day. And there are obviously non-white Jews as well, but they receive discrimination, or at least historically in the last like, I don't know, last like 20, 30, 40 years or so, they have received discrimination on the basis of their other identity and I'm talking about systemic discrimination, by the way, not on the basis of them being Jewish.
Certain institutions of higher education. Does it affect where you're going to live? Does it affect negatively your interactions with the law? That's what anti-Semitism meant.
Yeah.
They were quantifiable, palpable, lucid expressions of this phobia, whatever you want to call anti-Semitism, okay? By that reckoning, can you name me a place in the United States where a Jew would have trouble purchasing a home or renting an apartment? Name me one place. I'd be curious. Can you name me one university, one college, one in the whole United States where a Jew would have trouble getting in because he or she was Jewish? One. Could you name me one profession? Does the medical?
Like the same could even be said for the Irish. Like the same could be said for Italians. Like there was a historic period of time when Irish and Italian people were discriminated against on the basis of their ethnic background or the basis of their nationality. And then they were basically bracketed under the white category, right? And the same goes for Jews in general. There's still more discrimination towards Jews as a historically marginalized identity than like Italians and the Irish. So even in contemporary examples, like there's still a more resilient form of discrimination that is specifically directed towards Jews because of the historical impact of anti-Semitism and how anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine of fascism, how like Jews being singled out has led to genuine pogroms and the Holocaust as well. So it's more complicated than that, right? Like I'm not saying it's the same as like, okay, Jews are just like the Irish, they're white now. It's not like the same marginalization. There is a little bit of a difference there. But when you compare it to like black people historically and in contemporary society, like that's when you develop a better understanding of like systemic discrimination versus hurting someone's feelings or being rude to them and like being scary to them, right? So the stand up that Jew hatred ad has this impact of basically neutralizing all of that, or just like equalizing all of those different forms of racism, and it robs the systemic component of its significance. Okay. And for the outside world looking in, right, for non-Jewish people in general, when they see stuff like that, especially if they're like from a Latino background and they're seeing all this ICE raids and like that, or black people, right? They see, or Muslim people, they see stuff like this and they go, come on, dude, like really? Like this is crazy. Jews by and large should be proud of the accomplishments. Like American Jews should be proud of their accomplishments. Western Jews should be proud of their accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with that. It's wonderful. It's spectacular. Okay. You overcame great odds. This is true, right? But part of the reason why, like after all of those accomplishments, part of the reason why like these words ring hollow is because it comes across like there is, it comes across like the only form of discrimination that impacts people is the personal, like person-to-person bullying and hatred and harassment that you receive, when clearly the more consequential aspect of racism, the more impactful aspect of racism is one that pertains to the material at the systematic level. You know? What is this? But yeah, most Americans think the height of racism is just saying a slur word and not denying housing applications or loans. That's why they equate so much of the types of oppression. Exactly. That's why I said white hands touch this. Jews are more privileged than WASPs in American society. Okay, brother, you are insane if you think that. That's borderline white supremacy. Like the level of delusion that you're on, if you say that, there is no group of people that are more privileged in American society than WASPs. WASPs built this country. What the are you talking about, dude? This is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant nation. Are you crazy? That is insane, okay? Especially because, at least with Jews, you can point to real systemic discrimination against Jews on the basis of their Jewish identity and their religion throughout a long period of time. We denied Jews the right to enter this country during the Holocaust. There has never been a moment in American history where WASPs were discriminated against. This is a WASP country. That is delusional. Okay? That's crazy. That is so ahistorical. That is so unbelievably ahistorical to say. That is crazy to me. You could say, like, you can't even say that about Catholics in general, but like, at least if you said Catholics, it would be a little bit more believable. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? There has never been a moment in this country where white Anglo-Saxon Protestants were discriminated against on the basis of being white and Anglo-Saxon and Protestant. Also, yeah, every president is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Almost every single president. We've had 2 Catholic presidents, 0 Jews, 1 black president, almost every other president. What the? Oh, that's awesome. Like throughout the entire history of the United States of America, Kissinger was Jewish. Oh, I didn't realize he was the president. What the are you talking about? Did you think Henry Kissinger was the president? Hello? For every Henry Kissinger, there is a million WASPs in that role, brother. What does Anglo-Saxon mean in WASP? I thought it just meant white. It's just think about it as white. Statistically, the chatter is not wrong. No, there is no statistic that the chatter is correct on. Unless you are literally talking about no, even in statistics, you're wrong. If we're gonna look at like occupants of positions of prominence throughout American history, WASPs still by and large are running the numbers up. Okay, you're crazy. Come on now. No, you mean like, oh well, the country is mostly WASP. And the per capita argument is that like Jews are in a better financial situation per capita in comparison to the WASP. It doesn't matter. That's not how you look at privilege. Like you can find one metric to game it out, but it doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? Unc, you were filmed on the plane.
I don't know which one of you keep farting in front of me, folks, but that's blowing the out of me, G. Man, go to the.
Okay, first of all, you know that ain't me because I'm sitting in business. All right, my pretty ass is sitting in business class. Okay. Come on now. We do use the same metric for pollution per capita for Chinese people. Anyway, I feel the same way as an Indian American. You deal with racism often, but it's hard to feel truly subjugated when your race is the highest socioeconomic class. I mean, I go so far as to say that like Indian Americans are still denied job opportunities at a higher rate on the basis of being Indian and therefore brown than Jewish Americans do. But I see the point that you're making. Okay, like that's more valid for Indian Americans than it is for Jewish Americans. If we're talking about systemic racism impacts Indian Americans because of on the basis of just not being seen as like fully American. Jews, by and large, in the United States of America are white. They're a part of they're a subcategory of white. That's just the reality. This is precisely the reason why they don't experience the same level of systemic racism that other people do. Okay? That's it. It's that simple. Sometimes it's that simple. American racism is not super complex. Okay? That's why I separate American racism from European racism, or American anti-Semitism from European anti-Semitism. European anti-Semitism requires a tremendous amount of reading, for example. Americans are illiterate. They're too illiterate to be Euro-style anti-Semites. Okay?
Profession discriminate against Jews? There's a legal profession. I mean, that was once a problem. That's why Jewish law firms are created, because they couldn't get into the white shoe WASP law firms. Does that exist anymore? So this is just completely and totally.
I mean, low key, like part of the reason why there's Jews that are dominant in the field of law and in Hollywood is part of the historic discrimination that they experienced elsewhere. Like, that's half the story. Now it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally it. That's the whole point. They were excluded, so they chose alternative sectors where they could like create their own products, create their own goods and services, you know? So that's what I mean when I talk about like systemic discrimination. And because the overall like domineering attitude is that Jews are doing all right in general, you know what I mean? Like, that's what Americans think. They're doing all right in general. When this kind of conversation takes place, most Americans think any kind of instance of reminding people that racism exists is frustrating for them. But it's doubly frustrating when it's a subgroup that is a part of the white group in general in the eyes of many people, and on top of that has the association with like being financially successful to begin with. So they go they get extra annoyed when they see this. Because remember, Americans by and large get mad when black people talk about the very real systemic discrimination that they face. They go, "Shut the up, you're out of your mind. Oh, just pick yourself up by your fucking bootstraps." But when it's a Jewish person doing it, they'll be like, "What the are you saying?" Because in the mind of like a dude living in a trailer park, they think every Jewish person is like, you know, billionaire. They think every Jewish person is like dominating finance. So they get extra mad when they hear like this. They go, "What the f-?" Dudes are going to be sitting around in the heartland watching the Super Bowl, and they're going to see that ad and they're going to be like, "What do you mean? Every Jew is a banker and a lawyer, sometimes both at the same time. What the f-? Do you mean there's any discrimination?" And that will create even more enmity. That will actually cycle back to creating, unironically, more hatred towards Jewish people. Now, of course, that's not the case. Obviously, I'm not saying every Jewish person is like a tremendously financially powerful person. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's what like the average person thinks. I had a motherfucker tell me Rupert Murdoch is Jewish because he legit believes Jews own literally every media company. That's so funny. I know. Or like, I used to joke about this, but now I can't even joke about it. But I used to say people treat Bill Gates like he's Jewish because of the association of like being a billionaire and being Jewish. People be like, "Oh, Bill Gates trying to microchip people." Like it's the 4chan technique of being like Jews in powerful places, like the Excel spreadsheet that they love posting that Kanye West had printed out. And it's like, I remember looking through that spreadsheet and like half of the people on the spreadsheet weren't even Jewish. So they decided suspected Jew. They slapped on suspected of being Jewish next to like people who aren't Jewish. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the ad rings hollow for the reasons that I just mentioned. The more Jewish supremacist state slaughters Palestinians, the more Jewish supremacist billionaires will be funding condescending, self-victimizing ads like this. The sticky note ad may not stick the landing on stopping Jew hate. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft will be taking on more than just the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Super Bowl. New ad from Kraft's Blue Square Alliance Against Hate will beam to millions of homes. Yeah, they need to pull the plug on this ad, bro. This is going to lead to more, this is going to backfire. So much love and respect for Robert Kraft, but it's almost impossible to imagine a more R-worded ad than this from editor-at-large at Tablet Magazine. First off, let's do the same thing we did last year to make sure you understand we have no creativity left. Second of all, let's make the call to action posting a BLM-like square because that's what serious people do. Third of all, let's make sure the story we tell is of a dweeby Jew getting gallantly rescued by a cool black dude. If I had $10 million to spend on a Super Bowl ad, I'd just show a bunch of exploding beepers, dead Hamas and Hezbollah leaders, hot Israeli girls with guns. Oh my God. The first 2 points, I was like, okay, where is he going? And then he hit the dweeby Jew, and I was like, oh, this guy is Israel poisoned. This is the most Israeli tweet you can actually find, okay? I don't know if Liel Leibovitz is living in the United States of America, but spiritually, his mind is in Israel. Because this notion that like, oh, in order to make Jews look cool, you gotta show how militant we are, militant Jews. Like, that is the most spiritually and mentally Israeli. The muscular Jew narrative is the most spiritually and mentally Israeli thing you can do. I would go so far as to say, if you wanted to like promote Jews in America, just show Jewish contributions to the field of arts, academia, sciences. Like, what the is this? Like, yeah, no, you don't understand. We're Jews. We kill Arabs, dude. Come on. Like, what the This is an Israeli invention. You got thousands of years of the exact opposite of this thing, with endless amounts of contribution in every field of study, in every important facet of like Western existence, American existence. And this is like, nah, you know what we're good at? Killing Arabs. Mind-boggling. Caption, around and find out. But hey, why go with Jewish power and pride when quivering victimhood mixed with the worst of social media clicktivism is exactly what some committee of overpaid PR pros and professional Jewish org types thought would work wonders. I'm telling you, this is the Israeli mindset. The idea that like Jews were dominated with pogroms and Jews were dominated with the Holocaust because they were weak and feeble, and no longer will they ever be weak and feeble. They're actually, they're going to overcome it with military might. Okay, that's literally the Israeli mindset. Yeah, that'd be great. Spend $10 million to remind people that American Jews are actually Israeli at a time when there is an unprecedented amount of hatred towards Israel, which is warranted, mind you. Okay, yeah, remind them of all of the weapons that we paid for, so that they think that our tax dollars went into paying for this commercial as well. That is definitely going to make Americans go, oh, hell yeah, man. I love the muscular Jew. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, he's like, let's pump Meyer Kahan instead of Einstein, dude. It's so funny. It's just so stupid. Yeah, around and find out. The message should be a $10 million Super Bowl ad that says, do not cross the Jews, or we will do terrorism. That will certainly make the dumb potato-headed wasps living in the heartland go, wow, I certainly love the Jews now. Incredible stuff. This is what I mean. It's the Israeli mindset, okay? That is literally the Israeli mindset. The notion that like, Jews have to be strong, muscular, and we kill people. We kill people all the time. Remind people that we kill people all the time. In my work, actually, they like that stuff. No, dude, what are you talking about? Just remember, football fans, we can blow up your cell phones whenever and wherever we want. # stop anti-Semitism. True. I definitely think an ad showing dead bodies with around and find out is the way to go. See, Brace had the same opinion. Yeah, this guy is delusional, okay? What is this? The FBI log describes a fuzzy image of possibly an inmate. The Inspector General logs it as an officer carrying orange linen or bedding, noting that in their final report as an unidentified corrections officer. Oh my God. I agree with Liel. A much better and more appealing Super Bowl ad would definitely feature real war footage of dead bodies blown apart by bombs. I swear to God, dude, Israeli mindset is so, I don't know. Look, there are a lot of Jewish people in academia, revolutionaries that have guided my worldview, okay? But I'm not Jewish, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn when I say this, but I truly feel like Israeli mindset is just an entirely separate mentality. Like, Zionism is an entirely separate mentality than thousands of years of Jewish culture. it's like antithetical to everything I have learned of the revolutionary history of Jews in general. It's crazy. It's always shocking to see it in real time. Israelis are Gentile coded? Yeah, no, they're hogs, man. I shouldn't be saying, you know, I would never say Zionist and then insert animal term, but like they're like Republicans. They're like the Republican hogs. Like they behave in the same way where it's like, oh yeah, we got to shoot our problems dead, you know? Like it's crazy. Another 7-day again, GG's. No, I didn't say Zionist and then insert, you know, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. But you know what I mean. Rip it one more time, YouTube chilling. This guy's ideal message of countering anti-Semitism, which is a straight up threat against the entire world on behalf of Jews, aired during the Super Bowl. Great job, guys. Keep it up. It's just the universality of fascism, which I jokingly talk about when I say the universality of hog mindset, right? Bro, you just said that in the stream froze. Yeah, there's a reason why Israeli comedy resembles Steven Crowder, right? Fascists are too angry. Reactionaries are too angry to make a joke, to find humor in life. The Stop Anti-Semitism commercial should be full of hot IDF guys wakeboarding over child skulls and then turning onto the camera and saying, all Jews love this and you better love this too or you're going to jail. Exactly. As a Jew, Israelis are fucking freaky, man. I went on birthright, step off the plane after 13 hours. They just sit us down on the floor of the airport and basically explain that we should marry Jewish and have many children to fix the demographic concerns of the Israeli government. Wild stuff. I mean, it's fascism. That's it. Anybody that anybody that comes up and tries telling you about the demographic concerns of the in-group should raise alarm bells, right? Like that's it.
You will pet me whether you like it or not.
Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. The Piker Broadcasting Service is where you get tomorrow's news today.
Whether you like it or not.